He's been in office for half a century, and I think it's time for a new generation of leadership in our party.
In the case of over 350 other bridges in this state.
I'm not asking about other bridges,
Well,
Director. I am asking you about this bridge.
We did the right thing.
It was he said, a corporate decision. Hasbro is a company in transformation. It really is not the G.I. Joe monopoly of yesteryear.
I think there's going to be plenty of time to litigate my record, which is really, really strong.
With all the incompetence and bureaucracy, it's going to take 5 years in the best case scenario to fix. 5 years. People, I gave birth to 4 children in 4.5 years.
That's a big one, huh? The Candyman versus the Queen of CBS. Well, we'll get to all of that, plus Senator Markey and Hasbro leaving and the bridge, too.
Holding the powerful accountable from Washington, D.C. to right here in southern New England. This is 10 News Conference with Gene Valicenti.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Gene Valicenti. We usually do a reporters roundtable every Thanksgiving. We're late. It's almost the end of November, but let's assemble our panel. Starting to my left, Brian Crandall, our political reporter. Alison, Bologna from Sunrise, and Abbey Buttacavoli, you cover the schools for us.
I do.
All right, well, let's begin with the schools. Since the Newport, we're taping on a Friday, the Newport School Committee is meeting today, 2:30, to decide whether or not they want to hire a private investigator or an investigator to look into the alleged assault of a special needs student at Rogers High School. Go ahead.
This has been a very tough story, I think, for so many people to learn about and to hear. Of course, this is all alleged, but yeah, there have been now several students charged in this case, and we've seen so many things happen with schools throughout this school year so far, and this one has just been the most shocking.
And it's on tape.
Yeah. Have we all seen the video?
I have.
Okay. It's awful. It's the video I saw is what was the first one out. I don't know if there's more than one, but it's one young man striking another young man. He has something in his hand. Have we determined what he was hitting him with?
They have said maybe a belt or some sort of object like a belt.
In the locker room.
In the locker room.
All right, let's go, Alison. He's special
Probably
needs.
a dozen kids around him at the time. Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see. And it's also in this theme of everything we've seen in Smithfield and Woonsocket and now this. Also, you know, the environment has improved in Newport. That's a brand new school. You would think that that kind of set the tone for what is and isn't acceptable. It's a zero tolerance policy is my understanding. So let's see if they hold those accountable.
Well, and this did escalate quickly because it went to the police, and the police charged the students with assault. This was not
and there's
an
more and more
internal
students.
School thing at the start. I know they're talking about an investigation, but you know, as Abby, you were saying, right, there was the big incident in Smithfield. Well, that was kept internal in the school department, and that kind of blew up in their face.
Well, in Newport, the superintendent responded. The mayor talked. We've heard a lot. And, you know, rightfully so, we should be hearing from those people who, you know, lead that area. And in other cases, we've not seen the same.
To be clear, we're not airing that video for a lot of different reasons.
So. But it exploded on social media.
It's everywhere. It's become a national story.
And let's use the word alleged. It allegedly shows one young man striking this special needs student hard and often, and it's tough to watch.
And other students watching.
Yeah, so there's going to be 2 courses here. I spoke to a well-known attorney, Mark Bryce, today. There's going to be the criminal charges, and then there's likely, almost certainly, to be a civil lawsuit. And that may cost the city a lot of money in the end. They're insured with a special fund, maybe up to $1 million, but that verdict could go, who knows? And then what a jury's going to do.
Right, and on the heels of what happened in Smithfield, though, and again, I think what happened there was, you know, they disciplined some football students and then took it back, and that's where it really then took on another life.
And then the other side lawyered up.
Right, and now you have a dispute over was it an anti-Semitic situation or not, where the one side, you know, the Jewish Alliance and who's talked to the alleged victim's family claims it is, and the parents of the other football players swear it's not.
Based upon the behavior of the alleged victim right after.
And we ran a story, one of the counselors who was involved early said the alleged victim never mentioned anti-Semitism to him. However, there are those who say it is anti-Semitic. The Jewish organizations got involved, and then the lawyer got involved. So these families are actively pushing back against this.
It is November. Between Woonsocket, Smithfield, and Newport, it has been a rough start to the school year. More than 40 arrests in Woonsocket alone.
Let's go to Woonsocket.
Yeah, so Woonsocket, there has been a lot. I feel like there were multiple mornings on Sunrise. I was live in Woonsocket because it just felt like one after another, students were getting arrested for fighting in school. A lot of students capturing this on video. video, and Woonsocket takes a very interesting approach. Now, they tell me not every school district does actually go forward with arresting students. They do. They have a zero tolerance policy, and we're watching some of those videos, of course blurred, but it has been really chaotic. And I know the superintendent has been so outspoken saying he will not stand for any of what's happening.
Are these run-of-the-mill, run-of-the-mill, yeah. Kids fighting, a brawl, girls, boys? How many arrests? 40 arrests?
43 as of last check with the Woonsocket Police
And they haven't really
Department.
said whether it's all connected or if there's a larger issue going on, or as you said, like isolated incidents where
At the
people have a
beginning,
beef.
it was, from what I was told, it was
a group of
isolated.
girls, right?
It was
Originally.
several, because remember that one day they had multiple fights. It was 13 students arrested in one day. That was probably the biggest story we had. And that, I don't think we've seen happen so far, but there have been pockets, and I think it's a lot of social media going to the school.
Well, let's talk about that. Social media. I mean, look, we're all on Instagram, and you flip. How many times do you see fights in schools across the country? Is that driving this? I'll pick a fight, we'll have a brawl, we'll put it on social media.
Well, interestingly, I know my kids' schools, it's like if there's ever an incident, almost a bulk of the message that goes out to the parents is tell your kids not to put it on social media.
Yeah.
And that is almost more the message than the fight itself is you shouldn't be filming this and
This is
putting it on
also
social
coming
media.
at a time when a lot of schools are finally implementing
Phone
a
pouch
ban
policies
on
or
cell
bans,
phones,
yes.
but yet still before and after the school day.
All right, let's get into politics. And first of all, the politics of lawsuits. Brian, Attorney General Peter Nerone has now filed how many lawsuits
300
against the Trump administration?
It's now, as of this week, 41. That came on Tuesday. And he's not alone. He's usually in a coalition with 20 other Democratic attorneys general and governors who have sued the Trump administration. It started way back at the beginning with the funding freeze, if you remember that, where the Trump administration wanted to freeze all this funds to state, billions of dollars. The latest one was on HUD funding and strings that he says are attached to that. And then the big one a few weeks ago was the SNAP benefits, where they filed, a lot of them have been filed in Rhode Island, but also in Massachusetts. And you have to think that part of that is they think they're going to get potentially a ruling that they like. And I don't think they've lost.
Well, it's kind of a moot point now with the government open, but yes.
Right. And more than once, he has run to Federal District Court Judge Jack McConnell, who some say is too friendly to the Democrats.
Well, and honestly, I don't think they did get to decide which judge it is. They file, so they've been spread out.
But you could pick a venue.
You pick a venue.
He
That's what I'm saying.
often leads the coalition of attorney generals. Let's go to Providence.
Right. It's Rhode Island. It's Massachusetts. Judge John McConnell, we did a story after a lot of these lawsuits way back months ago got filed. And again, yes, those accusations, he was in Democratic circles. So that
he was the treasurer of the state party.
Right, and they get nominated by senators,
he's
right?
He's donated more than $600,000 over time to the Democrat
But I was going to
Party.
say, in all, I don't think in these coalitions, and especially the ones that have been filed in Rhode Island, now none of them I don't think have ever gone to a conclusion, but it's been temporary restraining orders, injunctions. I don't think they've lost.
Okay.
They've won every round as far as I can tell.
Is it fair to say 41 lawsuits against the sitting president, this is not normal?
No.
Well, a lot of people would say this is not a normal precedent.
Now, they may say, oh, this is correct to do, but this is not normal.
Right. The president came in from day one and said, I'm going to do this. And he had an agenda and he had executive orders left, right, and all over the place. And I think a lot of Democrats have said, we're going to fight this agenda. And a lot of it is because the president wants to attach strings to federal money, which they claim is not proper. It's like when it comes to SNAP benefits or disaster
play my
relief
game on my
or
terms,
housing money.
otherwise.
All right, quick break. We'll be right back. Let's talk the governor versus Helena Foulkes, the new polls, and how's he doing?
Thank you for turning to 10, your news leader. 10 News Conference with Gene Valicenti continues right now.
Last time Governor McKee ran for election, well, he was the lieutenant governor, elevated to governor, then he ran for, I guess you'd call it re-election or election on his own. He threw a lot of money around to the unions. That's how he got the Candyman moniker. It's going to be this time around. Looks like it's Candyman versus the CVS queen, Brian.
Yeah, and
Helena Foulkes.
You were talking about the polls, and the one that just came out this week doesn't look good from the University of New Hampshire that has among likely Democratic primary voters, Foulkes at 29%, McKee was at 11. Most undecided, 42%. But then you have House Speaker Joe Shekarchi, who's not even officially
showing up.
He's not even officially in the race, but they have him.
We're tired of asking him.
Yeah,
Yes or no?
they have him at 13%, which is ahead of McKee, and McKee's approval ratings, I think, were about 21%. And of course, a lot of it has to do with the bridge, and you heard it in that clip we played at the beginning of the show, that's what Helena Foulkes is going to make an issue out of too. And it's not going to be settled by the election because the bridge isn't going to be built.
Alison, he wants to make an issue about her stewardship of CVS when the opioid crisis.
Right.
He did that last time around. He's going to be more aggressive this time around. I don't know if it's going to stick as much as the bridges.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think people are a little tired of hearing about it. We do have some settlements, so people have been paid out to a certain extent, and she's gotten better at answering that question than she did the first time around. But it's a legitimate question, a legitimate concern, considering she was in charge of CVS.
He is down in Kalshi, one of these betting sites. They actually have the gubernatorial race. You could bet on it if you want, and he's way underwater in that. However, last time around, he threw a lot of money to the unions. He is a pretty good master of early voting and mail-in ballots.
Do you think,
I'm not counting anybody out.
Are the unions going to stay with him, though, if somebody else jumps in?
I don't think they've pledged it. Right now, they're with him, but they could easily go somewhere else.
Well, and the other thing, too, is
I don't think they'll go to Foulkes, though.
I think, you look at it as politics, too. He's kind of more like a centrist. So is he going to keep that? And if anybody else jumps in the race, are they going to split are Foulkes and whoever that may be potentially going to split anti-McKee vote?
Right.
And so and that's kind of what I feel like happened last time, where he was the survivor among Nellie Gorbea and Helena Foulkes. And Helena Foulkes, they say,
she
made
won
a
the
late
popular
charge.
vote,
She won the vote on election day.
Right.
It was, of the people who showed up.
Let's go to the House Oversight, joint Senate House Oversight Committee. A couple of weeks ago, Peter Alviti got a real examination, a real going over. A lot of people felt he didn't do well. The governor said he didn't harm the case. Don't forget, there's a legal case going after these companies and inspectors. The governor said he got a tough going, but the case wasn't harmed. Let's play a little exchange between Peter Alviti and former U.S. Attorney Cunha, who was paid $600 an hour to go after him.
Expect them to deliver a report that is complete, accurate, and we don't second guess them.
So it doesn't concern you from a management standpoint that for over 10 years you contracted with multiple inspection companies, that they apparently failed to provide you with adequate inspection reports, and there was no ability within RIDOT to assess that?
Whether or not I'm disturbed is entirely beside the point.
I should say, former Rhode Island Supreme Court Judge Bob Flanders said, listen, that's a tough thing to go through. Alviti held his own. He didn't give any ground. This is up for interpretation. This is the story of the year, no matter how you look at it.
No, it is. And so many people, this is the talk of the town. We know the bridge. So many people still pass over it, of course. But it is, everyone has their opinions about how it's been handled.
Right. And the lawmakers paid for a prosecutor, and that's what they got in that hearing. That's
what he was hired for.
Is the tough questions under oath. And I think in a lot of ways, you could say, was that just for a public showing, and maybe that was part of it. And now they have new ammunition after the forensic audit was leaked a few months ago.
In court, when you do poorly in an answer, your attorney gets a chance to rehabilitate you. To say, wait a minute, you forgot to ask him about this. This wasn't a court proceeding. This was a hearing. It shows a split personality on the state's part. McKee is trying to win a lawsuit, and the legislature decides to haul Alviti and basically soften up for any attorney.
Right,
and any upcoming civil
Alviti's
litigation.
Point is, we hired these companies, and this is what the lawsuit is about. We hired these companies to do inspections. We trusted them, and Cunha's argument was, but you have to take that information and do something with it at some point. And I wonder too, how much does the public care about the lawsuit as the governor's defense? And I get it. He says he's trying to hold other people accountable. Maybe is public sentiment that it was other people's fault, or it seems like it's the state's issue?
I think it's both.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
Because the governor uses
everybody wants to blame somebody.
And the governor uses that and says, we didn't release the audit because we had the lawsuit. And Peter Narono, who has been no friend to the governor, backed him up on that and said, you're right. But I think people want accountability, and that's
they'll
why
take it from wherever it comes from.
Even Zach Cunha asked, where was the reckoning? Because he picked up on the mantra that I think a lot of people have picked up now.
But Alviti did say going into that there was going to be no big surprises anyway, right? I mean, that's what everybody was saying.
I think some people wanted heads to roll, and there's been no heads to roll at DOT.
Yeah. Who wants that job anyway? A lot of people are calling for Alviti to leave. Who's going to replace him? Who wants that job, especially now, right?
In Rhode Island.
It's never been a popular job to have.
It's a difficult job.
It's been a tough job. Let's talk about ICE. Just the other day, ICE agents tried to grab a young man who was actually a court intern up in Providence, but if not for the judge who said, "You got the wrong kid, stop," they would have grabbed him. Now listen, there's two sides to the story, okay? Law enforcement makes mistakes, and if you do thousands of arrests, you may have a mistake. That doesn't mean we throw out law enforcement. But go ahead, you covered this for us.
Yeah, so I mean, I touched on it a little bit on Sunrise recently. I think having the judge there was very important, and I think what was pointed out was not everyone does in these instances have a voice of reason saying, whoa, 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 take a second, take a look, and just to make the right decision, because we know these are very impactful things that are happening, and they're being captured on camera as well.
ICE was wrong. ICE had the wrong. ICE doesn't look good. The governor called it egregious. All the Democrat critics pounced on it.
And what they see is that this is what they've been arguing about, like a federal government overreach. And when they make mistakes, it's like they feel like people disappear and you don't know where they went. They get shipped to Maine or Louisiana. And
for months.
Yeah, and you don't know
we'll
where
look
they
at Logan
are.
Airport right now.
And so after that incident happened, you basically read the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the head of the Supreme Court came out too and basically said this is part of our concern. Because they're sitting outside of courthouses.
Right, and this is why they wanted to go virtual, a lot of these hearings now, and that's being pushed by a lot of state reps.
Police departments, you may have thousands of them, they make mistakes. They make the wrong arrest. Do we say, well, you shouldn't be in the police business anymore? ICE will make mistakes. They're going after thousands of people.
Yeah, but procedurally right now, everything is up in the air. I mean, they're coming in with masks. That's not typical originally.
Well, they say they do that because their critics will dox them, put their personal information, harm their families.
Now. But that's a reaction to the way in which they have been operating before then.
Yeah, but my general question is, law enforcement in general makes mistakes.
Well, yes, I think a lot of times, though, if somebody gets arrested, you know where they are. I think one of the issues in these cases is somebody gets picked up by ICE, and then it seems like people don't know where they are, and they have to file lawsuits to keep them in the country.
They're in Maine. Nobody knows how to find them, including their attorneys.
Right.
We had a student
the whole
detained
process,
this year too,
right?
I think that
everybody is skeptical of the process, and that's what's happened. It's completely corroded.
All right, let's take a quick break. Right back with more stories on 10 News Conference, a panel discussion for Thanksgiving. 10 News Conference panel discussion for Thanksgiving. Let's talk about local politics in Providence. Mayor Smiley running for re-election. He has a challenger in David Morales, who identifies as a Democratic Socialist of America. Just the other day, the House passed a resolution in Washington condemning the horrors of socialism in all of its forms. Does Morales have a shot?
Well, I think if you took out the local part of it, I think yes, because everybody wants to compare, and he even does too, to Mondami in New York City.
Oh, he welcomes the comparison.
Oh, yeah, his launch video was a lot. He was walking around with a microphone asking people questions, and that's how Mondami gained fame after the election last year. I don't think that hurts him here. I just think it's a question more of local politics and what's going to play. Brett Smiley is like, I'm the experienced person. I'm going to keep us focused, but I'm, also progressive. But Morales says I'm, very progressive, and it's cost of living, it's housing, and those arguments worked in New York City. That's what he wants to work here because people are concerned about rents and the price of living, and he hopes to make that case against, Brett Smiley, who's basically strong bases on the east side.
Well, and Mayor Smiley also, he had to raise taxes. That was not popular.
Yes,
he had no choice, but at the same time, he is working out agreements with the nonprofits to try and get them to pay something in lieu of taxes. So he's going to say he's not as progressive, obviously, as his competitor.
Morales is very skilled at social media. He does videos every day.
Yeah,
he's good at them, too.
He is very good at them.
Yeah.
They're well edited. Hello neighbors. Do you see those?
I do, and you know what? Social media really does have an impact on these things. I think we saw it in New York City, and I think so many people showed up to the polls, and maybe he's got a shot at it with it.
But Rhode Island loves an incumbent, though.
Well, and the other thing too is, so the Mondami effect is, every once in a while you get a politician who just catches fire, right? You had Obama years ago, and it's just for one reason or another. And the other thing too is the people in New York City, everybody had baggage.
I was just going to say,
Andrew Cuomo,
it was wide
Adams,
open.
Eric Adams, Curtis Lew, I don't know if they have baggage, but another name from the 1980s. So again, it's to look at it as a whole movement is one thing, but again, local politics is another thing. I don't think the socialism part hurts him here.
All right, I graduated. How was a nice way to put this? I graduated before everybody else on this panel. By a lot.
Yeah, maybe a little for
Compared
me.
to some of them.
Maybe a little.
When I went to school, socialism was a bad word. It came right before communism.
A lot of people still feel that way.
Do you feel that way? Now,
You
as a
know,
younger person,
I think
tell me
I've
when I
seen-
say socialism, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a shift, I feel like, in my age bracket, and I think it is a little bit more accepted now. I think fascism has its own sort of divisiveness behind it. So I do think it's a little bit more accepted now.
Okay.
Well, I grew up in the 80s with Ronald Reagan, and we were still in the Cold War, and it was communism bad. You know, it wasn't like hiding under desks, you know, during nuclear drills, but it was, yes, Cold War, Top Gun, you know, Rocky IV, you know, everything against the Russians. But now it's like you have some of the more popular politicians, again, like Bernie Sanders. He can't win like a national race, but again has a super strong following and backing for years because they argue that they're fighting for the people.
The larger issue, I think, is everything has to have a label or a title on it these days. Everything.
I think it's confusing for some folks who don't feel
And I don't
like
think
they
everything
fit.
is that simple.
Yeah.
Correct.
I remember-
There's a gray area.
Right.
And you have Trump on one side saying he's still trying to call people communists because he's from that era too.
Because that's
He
right.
called Mamdani a communist.
Yes, and
Over and over again.
But then they were friends.
But they were buddies
in the Oval Office, Love Fest.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Which isn't pleasing anybody.
Many
really.
memes
No,
from
both
that
sides
as
are pretty
well.
angry about that.
Why did Mamdani win? Who voted for him? Who put him in? Young people, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Cynthia Nixon's, all that. Yeah.
Young people. Really,
Younger people.
It's tough to live
Well,
in New York.
But
City is a
again, he
melting
didn't
pot.
have a
New York
great
City's a melting
challenger.
pot.
I mean,
Yeah, and again,
Cuomo was,
lots of baggage on the other side.
All right, let's go. By the way, one more political story. Senator Markey. We go from the young to the older statesman. However, his challenger, Seth Moulton, is going to make age an issue.
Well, and that is what his announcement video was basically about, that Senator Markey, who would be 80 at the time of the election next year, they need a new generation of leadership. Not necessarily he's too old, he doesn't want to necessarily say that, but a new generation of leadership. And again, if you look at polls, there's been a few polls that already show that Markey has a substantial lead on Seth Moulton, who is in his 40s. But the wild card in that race, again, somebody who hasn't officially gotten in, is Congresswoman Ayanna Presley, who these polls are showing would beat both of them. And one of the pollsters said that the Moulton, just that Markey is too old is not enough of a reason. And we saw that 6 years ago where Joe Kennedy took on Markey. And again, it was 6 years ago, but again, Trump was on the ballot then. And whether it works this time, I don't know.
I want to play the announcement or the part of your story here where we put this back to back for both of them. Go ahead and play that.
I think he's very energetic and everything, but this is about the future, right? This is about the fact that at the end of this next term, if he's reelected, he'll be 86 years old, and I'm just not sure that's investing in the future of our party. I think one of the other problems with Democrats is that everyone knows we're opposed to Trump. And look, personally, I think we should be fighting Trump even harder.
Is this about age or vision,
Well, I
right?
have to say, look, he looks good.
Well, and that's what they say.
Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
Look at Martha Stewart.
Well, and that's part of
She's
the
still
argument.
building businesses.
Is he didn't want to, Moulton in that interview with me, didn't want to say age, but again, vision for the party. And I asked him too, it's like, you keep saying, and people, we need a better playbook. We're using the old playbook against Trump, but what is the new playbook? Is it just to vote against everything?
I think that's what a lot of Democrats want to know right now, especially
Yeah.
conservative Democrats,
Right.
right?
And Markey will say, I'm as progressive as anybody. He hangs out with AOC. You know what I mean?
Well, let's
But
go
not
to-
every Democrat wants that. That's
well,
the
right,
thing.
but I think Presley, if she gets in, maybe the most progressive, and she would lead the polls.
Let's ask the youth.
see.
Yes,
Younger
the youth
people.
representation.
Apart from
Hi, Abby.
We're old
Hello.
over here.
Apart from Bernie
Yes.
Sanders, are younger people looking for younger candidates?
You know, I think so. Being on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z, that is where I lie. I think we've seen the shift in Congress of being older. We've seen Nancy Pelosi take a step aside. And I think folks like her that have really paved the way on both sides of the aisle, who have been there for a long time, I think people my age are looking for change. I think they do want to see younger representation on either side, and I don't think that the age for maybe somebody in my age bracket or even younger may see that as something that is a positive
All
thing.
right, we will let the youth get the last word. Nobody leaves Channel 10,
Thank
so
you.
you'll be with us at the
I'll
next
be here for a
roundtable.
while.
That's me time. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us.
Here
That's
we
10
are,
News.
right?
Yep, happy Thanksgiving.
November
to you,
went fast.
too.
Thank you.
Yep, it did. That's 10 News Conference, your #1 longest running political show in Southern New England. Watch all of our interviews on turnto10.com. I'll see you on the radio next week and right back on NBC 10 News at 6. Have a great holiday.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.